Okay, Ilaisa, certainly a great win for this team, and the defense showed up in spades. How did you feel about the performance against Boise State?
Thought the team overall played well, but certainly happy about the way the defense played, and they played hard.
What went into the difference that we saw with the defense in this game versus the previous couple weeks?
I thought that the aggression was great. It was a good message for the boys that we were going to stay aggressive with the type of blitzes that we had and the amount of times that we blitzed. And that one really trickled straight down from the top. Kalani wanted to see it, and we all were on board with it. And I think the message was good for the kids that, coming in against a ranked opponent, undefeated opponent that we've always played tough against. We weren't gonna, third string quarterback, all these guys hurt, whatever. We were gonna play to win.
Didn't matter, and you guys showed up. Okay, let's break down some film, and let's focus on the defensive line, first with space integrity.
Yeah, so that's a concept that we talk about all the time, and really, I think if you were to just, when we first start fall camp, when we start talking, especially for kids coming straight out of high school or junior college transfers, whatever it is, defensive line play is really different depending on the coach and depending on the program, what you're doing. And for me, and what I've always thought was important, was the integrity of space. And so if we were to take all these offensive players and erase them, just basically erase all the offensive linemen and just say, can the running back run in between you two? Can he run in between you two? And a lot of times, as defensive linemen, you end up getting washed, or you're kind of standing right next to each other. And so if Bracken here on the right end is getting washed, or Kairos here at the nose is getting washed and getting moved, according to what the offense is doing with their timing and spacing, then we create more problems for the backers. We create more space for them to have to cover. We create more issues. And so integrity of space is huge for us as far as stopping the run and playing stout up front. And so this guy has the hardest job. His job, he can always get double teamed from one side or the other, and he's got to be ready to play with great tenacity inside as far as just stopping. And so there's a good example right here. Kairos doesn't know which guard is going to come to him, right? And he can kind of pick up keys as far as just pre-snap awareness. Sometimes when the running back is in shotgun, a running back on this side could tell Kairos, okay, the guard on this side is going to give me a scoop block, is what we call a scoop block, and I've got to be ready for that. And so he doesn't know, just because this is a tall backfield, the quarterback's under center. And as he's playing, he does a really good job just playing to the center. First of all, a lot of times guys will play to both, and you can't win by playing to both guys. You got to play to one, but he plays with anticipation of the other guy. And keeping his feet in the ground is huge, so that he can, you see all those cleats right there is always important, what we talk about. He ends up getting pressure this way. If he's on his toes or he doesn't have very much cleats in the ground, he's going to get moved. And because he's a big guy,
nobody moves Kairos Tonga. Come on.
In this game, they didn't. This game, they didn't. He did a really good job, and I thought this was the best game that he's played as a Cougar. And he might not have showed up, statistically or whatever it is. A lot of time, against USC, he showed up because he was bull nosing or bull rushing the center and got a sack and all that stuff. But this is the type of stuff that you see guys playing on Sunday. And he might be a guy that they use on first and second and sub in another pass rusher on third down, but this is the type of stuff that you see a big time D tackle do. And so holding two, right? So if you look at the picture right here as we stop it, right? We're praising all three of them right now because they're both all three of them are taking up two. And so anytime you can take up two and hold space, the backers are free. You see all these guys right here just kind of seeing where the running back goes, and they basically show up to it. And so even if, let's say, Lorenzo here is getting washed, or the tight end's getting on him, and he's
what do you mean by washed?
Washed meaning as soon as he takes on this block, the tight end attaches onto the side and then just pushes him. And if he gets pushed right here, he's not holding integrity of space, because now the running back comes and he can cut back, and now there's about 4 yards that a linebacker has to make a tackle. Whereas right now, it's really he's got to make somebody miss in smaller windows. And so the integrity of space right now is good. But if Lorenzo gets washed, but Kairos holds his ground, which is why this guy is so important, then it's still, we've got basically bodies that are taking up this space right here. But if both of them get washed, if he gets moved and this guy gets moved, there's a lot of space for the backers to have to make up for. But the other thing too is a lot of times when you get washed, I think one of the clips might show up, but you see how Bracken right here is playing to one, the lineman comes off and now it's taking up the backer. We'd expect Bracken here to basically win against a one-on-one. And so anytime we're taking two or we're holding space, we're doing our job because we're freeing up a backer. Anytime the offensive lineman climb up to the next level and take up a backer, then we have to win. We have to win in our gaps. And so Bracken here is going to be coached to recapture his gap. Right now his gap is here in the B gap. As soon as he takes up this and the guy climbs, he's got to recapture that gap. And so if the running back ends up running here, we expect him to snap off and make a play. But right now, because all three of them are doing a decent job right here, Lorenzo is going to be coached to stay square. You see how his hips, when we talk about staying square in the defensive line room, a lot, it's really your hips. If your hips are square, you're square. And so when he turns his hips right there, now he no longer has power. And it's going to be easier for those guys to move him. And so if he can stay a little bit more square like how Kairos is, then he'll be able to use his right arm to keep pressure on this offensive lineman, and he's going to close off that space as well as just stay big. Does that make sense? But it frees up Keenan. Keenan here is just basically, got nothing to slow him down as far as what he reads and what he tackles. And when you're a backer, you love having defensive linemen that relish the role of basically taking up two and holding space, because then it just makes it easier for you to play. And you see Kavika, how Kavika's just kind of shuffling, just seeing where it's going. Nobody's touching him. That's good. That's a good life when you're a backer. And we as a defensive lineman take pride in that.
This was a better rush defense performance against a group that had given up some numbers. More of this is what you want? More of this space integrity and other things?
Yeah, in the past couple of weeks, really some of the stuff that has happened is, okay, so just looking at this play right here, when you're talking about integrity of space, that's all good, but there's also gaps, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gaps just on this side. And so defensively, when you scheme things up, you need numbers, you need bodies to show up where the gaps are. Does that make sense? And it's always nice when you can have that. But if they start doing different things, let's say they erase this guy and put them on that side, right? Now all of a sudden you've created 2 more gaps, and those are angle schemes, what we call angle schemes, pull schemes. If this guy pulls and goes this way, and the other guy comes around as well, we've got to plus the numbers to where they need them. And the defensive linemen need to do a good job basically reading the schemes and playing to it. And so that a little bit more scheming, X's and O's comes into the type of play that you're getting. And that was one of the issues that we had, at least against South Florida, is we weren't getting numbers where we needed them with our safeties and our backers, and D linemen getting washed as well. And so 3 things end up becoming a problem that we got to be better at. But this certainly was kind of exactly what we wanted, which is holding space and backers flowing to where they needed to be and playing stout ball.
Okay, next play, one of the 2 sacks on the night.
Yeah, so staying with the theme of spacing, when a quarterback is back there throwing, what we talk about is basically creating a trap for him. And so if you get one defensive end that's doing a really good job rushing upfield, but a D tackle that's not doing a good job, at least penetrating the inside, then quarterback has space to step up. And so all 4, and in this case all 5, because we're blitzing a guy, all 5 guys need to continue to press, need to continue to press the pocket, need to make it where it's difficult for the quarterback to step up and deliver a ball. And right here, as you can kind of see, the inside does a really good job. We're bringing pressure off the edge here. The quarterback isn't completely ready to throw it, and it just gives a guy, and sometimes it's the end, sometimes it's the tackler, sometimes it's the blitzer. It gives a guy an opportunity to snap off of his block and get to the quarterback. And so, the advantage for the offense is they know how they're blocking it. The advantage for the defense is we can go wherever we want, and also we know where the quarterback's at and the O-line doesn't. And so it was a good job by Lorenzo just not burying his eyes. He's basically looking at bat balls down. As you see the quarterback here pump, what we're looking for as defensive linemen is an indicator that the pass rush needs to stop and I need to get my hands up. And this right here, when I'm watching it, tells me Lorenzo's eyes are correct. He's got his hands on the offensive lineman, but he's got his eyes on the quarterback. And so as soon as we see the indicator, which is the quarterback separating, getting ready to throw, then that tells us it's time to get our hands up. And so he does a pretty good job with that, but he gets back down and sees the quarterback step up and go.
Devin Kafusi had a nice play in a similar situation in the game where he read the screen and batted it down too.
He did. Yep, he read the screen, and that play, Kairos read the screen as well, and so they were all pretty much doing a good job as far as just seeing things and reacting, and that's the nature of the game for the defensive lineman. It's not just go hard, go fast, and get in the backfield. It's all reaction, right? It's all reaction to basically what you're seeing, and you can sometimes penetrating and getting in the backfield is a positive thing one play, and then another play could end up being a negative. So you've got to be sound really across the board as far as the way that you're playing and the way that you're reacting to blocks.
Okay, let's check out another play with the D-line, more stout rush defense.
Yep. So, okay, here really the same thing that we're talking about. As far as, so Bracken does a really good job here. he ends up getting washed, but the fact that he is using his strong arm to force the guy to shut this thing. And so what we say is right now, Bracken's gap is this gap right here. And we're saying that gap's got to disappear with your butt or his butt. One of your butts has to be in the gap. And so as he starts to feel this wash right here, because the lineman is moving pretty fast as far as his tempo, he uses his outside arm to slam that gap shut, pop back outside just to keep himself alive. So now we're saying, okay, that gap is gone now because he's used the offensive lineman's butt to put it in there, and then he snaps out to the outside to keep himself alive. What you don't want to do as a D lineman is you don't want to just bury it and say, I did my job making the gap disappear. We'd like to always basically go twofer, make a gap disappear, keep yourself alive. And all this is possible because Kairos here does a really good job just holding. So now in the first clip we saw, it was a tall backfield, what we call a tall backfield with the quarterback under center and the back here. But now that they're in the shotgun, Kairos has a little bit more anticipation as far as, okay, I've got the back on this side, I could get zone this way, I could get counter back this way just because of this guy, or I could end up getting power to this side. And so there's a lot of different plays that are going on in his mind as far as, if I get power to this side, I'm going to get an ace block by these two right here. If I get counter back to
ace
this
block
side.
in the A gap? Is that what?
Yeah, so they're going to block power. They're going to block, these two are going to be responsible to block Kairos and climb up to a backer. And so he's got to anticipate that if I get power one way, I'm getting ace block this side. If I'm going to get counter this way, I'm going to get the ace block this side, this guard and this guy's coming. If I'm just going to get regular zone, I'm going to get a scoop block, which is a little bit different from an ace block from this guard right here because the back's over here. And all this is pre-snap awareness, just standing up, seeing this, anticipating, say, eliminate this, eliminate this, eliminate this. I'm expecting this, this, this. Okay, get my feet in the ground, play ball.
Way more complexity pre-snap than I think people appreciate, right?
Yeah,
a lot's going on.
And that's why Kairos for the first 2 years, right? He's always been a big physical player. He's always been a big physical player. He's always showed up, right? And people are always enamored at how big he is and how fast he can go. He's super powerful, but his technique was never as good as it has been now. And he's the closer we get to the end of the season, and with all the scouts talking and everything, and I know he's not really ever listening to it and doesn't want to talk about it, but the closer he gets to being a guy that can legitimately play on a Sunday because of how he's playing now.
That's awesome. All right, and let's finish with another defensive line play. Twist, a different look.
Yeah.
And are these calls coming from the sideline as to what you want them to do?
They are. They're coming from the sideline, and so really this was a check for us. And so depending on what we ended up getting as far as formation and in the box, then so there's attached tight end, which means the tight end is on the line of scrimmage. There's a tight end off, and then there's also no tight end. Those are basically the three things that this guy's looking for. Peyton Wilgar. He's what we call the jack in this package, and he's looking for those things. And the defensive linemen are looking as well because they need to know if there's a tight end attached, if there's a tight end in the backfield, because it tells us specific type of plays that we're looking for, right? And all these things, as well as offensive lineman demeanor. Is he light on his fingertips? Is he going to pull? Is he going to pass pro, right? What type of language are they using? Where are their eyes? Like all these things basically come in, but Peyton's the one that's going to guide the front here, and he's basically the defensive end in this package. We only have 3 defensive linemen on the field, and so he sees what he needs to right here. As you see, there's still kind of communication going on between he and Bracken. Bracken's trying to figure out, okay, what did he check? What are we doing? These two get it, and so we've got what we call an aux on this side right here, which is aux is the outside guy, goes first. The inside guy is going to loop second. And go there. You see how Kairos is looking to loop outside, and Devin is looking to go inside. And so that twist game, if we were to get these guys at least to show up, and the running back is looking to cut back or bounce it, Devin's in a good position right here to chase this thing down and get it. And now Kairos becomes your contained player. Pretty athletic by him not to get cut.
Yeah.
Good. And then on this side right here, we've got what we call an Indian, which is the inside guy goes first. And so the inside guy is going to penetrate, and then the outside guy is going to come up and under. And these type of games always makes it a little bit more confusing for the offensive lineman to block. As you can see, this guy whiffs on a guy that's going to be a contained player. The offensive tackle now thinks that he's got to get to Kairos, but now he's left this guy unblocked. On this side right here, Bracken, even though Bracken is not completely aligned where he needs to be, at the snap, he knows, okay, I've got an Indian, and so I've got to pierce this thing. And so he's going vertical to pierce it, and then he's going to end up working to contain. And you can see Peyton right here just hold the edge. You see number 70, the tackle, thinks he's got to block Peyton, and then Peyton loops back inside. And so that's another person that's going to show up if this thing ends up cutting downhill. But Bracken shows up, ends up getting a 3-yard TFL, and so puts the offense behind the sticks, puts us in a 2nd and long, and changes the game as far as what you're looking for, call-wise, and what you anticipate the offense is going to do.
Did you call more checks or variations in this game than before, or was it a similar amount?
We're always going to have checks, and I think every defense does. Every defense has checks as far as putting your players in calls that you think are going to be beneficial. And this just ended up being the one that we wanted to do this game.
Okay, Utah State, another tough challenge coming up. What's the key or two to beating the Aggies in Logan?
I think we've got to, now talking about them, I haven't seen much film yet. We're still kind of in game planning right now, but they've all, last year they did a really good job just running the ball. So I think it still comes down to stopping the run, but also just playing sound ball. I think their quarterback might be one of the best quarterbacks we've faced all year. I mean, he's very underrated, but really, really good, talented player, and they've got receivers that do a good job, and they're, I think, just from what I've seen, the fastest paced offense that we've seen. So we've got to, I think more important than anything, be sound. We can't be running around looking for the call, and all the time you face teams like this that are really fast paced and get on the ball is we all talk about just getting your cleats in the ground. Get your cleats in the ground and play sound football. And if we can do that, we're making them earn it, and we can mix things in, but we can't be looking back over to the sideline trying to get a call when they're rolling. We got to be ready to roll.
Okay, great breakdown. I appreciate the time, and good luck in Logan.
Thank you.
Thanks, E.
All right.